Hello everyone, and welcome to another anime Villainous how-to video. As always, I am Chaos in the Sky, and for this video we'll be going through how to play as Light Yagami from Death Note in anime Villainous. Light Yagami is a cunning and charismatic high school student living an ordinary life. One day, however, he happens upon the otherworldly Death Note, a powerful tool dropped by the Shinigami Ryuk. Light finds he's able to kill anyone he writes the full name of in the Death Note, provided he can picture their face in his mind. With this new power, Light decides that it's his duty to reform the world by killing criminals with the Death Note. In doing so, Light believes he can better society and become the new god of a world where his justice reigns supreme. Unfortunately for Light, several skilled detectives and police force members don't agree with his vision. This leads to Light having to plan out how to continue his dream while avoiding capture and removing his opposition. All of Light's plotting and ideals rely upon the Death Note at the end of the day, and the Death Note requires the full name of whoever Light wants to kill. To that end, Light's objective is to reveal the name tokens of the 8 heroes in his Fate deck. Once he's revealed all 8 name tokens, and thus learned the name of each of his adversaries, he can enter Showdown and complete his goals by defeating any remaining heroes. There are a few important aspects to Light that I want to cover before we go in depth about how you'll be achieving his objective. First are Light's name tokens, which are tiles that start face down beneath your villain deck. When you start a game as Light, you shuffle the 8 name tokens, as when they're revealed it will be at random. There's no way to control the order that you reveal the name tokens in, and which ones are revealed will determine which heroes you're able to defeat throughout the game. Next is Light's ability, which is his primary way of defeating heroes. You'll notice that Light's territory lacks a vanquish action, and Light himself has 0 strength. This means Light cannot clash, as there are no heroes with 0 strength in his Fate deck, and he can't use allies to vanquish without having a vanquish action. Because of this, Light utilizes his ability to defeat the heroes in his territory. If Light ends his turn with no heroes at his location, then he can defeat 1 hero so long as that hero's name token is revealed. You'll be seeing a lot of other cards in Light's deck that follow the same philosophy. Cards that need the name token revealed to defeat a hero, as well as cards that require no heroes at certain locations to work. Something else important to note about Light is that he has the move hero action in his territory. As of the battle begins, Light is the only villain to make use of this action. Light cares a lot about the positioning of heroes, so this action will be a vital part of his gameplay. With it, Light can move a hero to an adjacent location, just like when you use the move item or ally action to move items or allies. Now that we've gone through these important aspects, let's get into actually revealing the name tokens to complete your objective. Light has 5 different cards he can use to reveal name tokens, 4 of which are effects, and 1 of which is an item. Each card reveals name tokens in unique ways, so you'll have several options to progress your objective. The first 2 effects we'll look at are Patient Plotting and Desperate Gambit. These 2 cards don't require other cards to be present for you to use them, but you will want to put some thought into when they're played. Patient Plotting is unique in that when you play it, you actually place the card below your villain deck. On your following turn, before Light moves, you then discard Patient Plotting. If there are no heroes at Light's location before moving, then you get to reveal a random name token. In this way, it works similar to Light's villain ability, requiring there to either be no heroes or have them positioned away from Light. The risk of Patient Plotting is that it's almost asking your opponent to fate you so that they can play a hero to your location. Desperate Gambit, meanwhile, reveals a name token the moment you play it, while also letting Light gain 2 power. The drawback here is that after doing so, Light must choose an opponent and let them play the top card of his Fate deck. The card is called Desperate Gambit after all, so while it has a high upside, it has a major risk depending on what Fate card is revealed. Our next 2 effects are Social Manipulation and Just as Planned. These 2 cards require other cards to be in play for you to use them, and have a choice on whether you want to reveal a name token or do something else. Social Manipulation is the most expensive with a cost of 2, but with a very powerful effect. If there's a hero at your location, you can either reveal a random name token, or move a hero from your location to any location. Light's ability and many other cards in his deck care a lot about the positioning of heroes, so being able to move them to any location is a powerful ability. While Social Manipulation focuses on heroes, Just as Planned focuses on Light's schemes. When you play Just as Planned, you have a choice to either trigger one of your own schemes during your turn, or you can discard 2 schemes that you control to reveal a name token. Light does a lot of plotting, so he has several schemes with strong effects that we'll talk about later. Being able to trigger them or discard them to further his goal is one of Light's strongest tools. Now we just have one last name token revealing card. This one is the iconic Shinigami Eyes, an item that Light has to attach to an ally. After attaching the Shinigami Eyes to one of his allies, Light then has to move to that ally's location. If there are no heroes when he moves there, he can then discard the Shinigami Eyes to reveal a name token. Notice that Light only has to discard the Shinigami Eyes, not the ally the eyes are attached to. Speaking of which, let's take a look at what allies Light has available to him. There are only 4 allies in Light's entire deck, so you'll need to make good use of each of them. Firstly, we have Chief Yagami, Light's father. When you move Chief Yagami, you get to move a hero at his location with him to the new one. As we've already seen, Light cares a lot about the position of heroes, so any amount of hero movement is vital to his mini plans. Next, we have Kiyomi, who can help Light draw more of his cards. At the end of Light's turn, if there are no heroes at Kiyomi's location, Light gets to draw up to 5 cards rather than the usual 4. This helps give Light more cards and thus more options, as he has many different tools to further his goals. After that is Mikami, a prime candidate for the Shinigami Eyes. His ability makes it where the cost to play items costs 1 less, but only if there are no heroes at his location. This means if there are no heroes at Mikami's location, the Shinigami Eyes cost 0 to play. Lastly, we have Misa, whose ability is rather unique. Whenever you play or move Misa, you have the option to move a Shinigami that is in your territory to her location. Notice that it says Misa must be moved by Light. This means if an opponent moves her using a fate card, it does not activate her ability. So now we'll talk about those Shinigami that Misa interacts with. Shinigami is a unique card type found in Light's deck, and it refers to 2 different cards, those being Rem and Ryuk. Rem and Ryuk are not allies, meaning any card referring to allies cannot be used on them. This of course includes the Shinigami Eyes, which you'll only be able to attach to the previously mentioned 4 allies. The exception is that you can, however, move Ryuk and Rem using the move item or ally action, despite them being Shinigami. This rule is specifically listed in Light's guide, which is where you typically find unique rules of that kind. It's a good thing you can move them this way too, as their abilities rely entirely on movement. When Ryuk is moved, you may choose an item from your deck or your discard pile, pay its cost, and attach it to an ally at Ryuk's new location. This is a very effective way to get multiple uses out of your Shinigami Eyes, or to get your Shinigami Eyes sooner if they happen to be near the bottom of your deck. While Ryuk typically helps you with getting more names, Rem's focus is to help you defeat heroes. When Rem is moved, you can then discard Rem to defeat a hero at Rem's new location. Notice that Rem does not make any mention of a name token. That's because Rem is the only way to defeat a hero in Light's territory without having that hero's name token revealed, making her incredibly useful. Naturally, since Shinigami rely on both being moved and being at specific locations to activate their abilities, Misa can make it easier to move them to the locations you want. Both Shinigami can have their abilities activated if they're moved by Misa's own ability. The next thing we'll be talking about are Light's schemes. Light is one of the most scheming villains out there, coming up with multitudes of different plans to throw off his adversaries and overcome them. As such, he has the most scheme cards out of all of the Battle Begins box. He has 5 unique schemes, and 3 of them have 2 copies, making a total of 8 scheme cards in Light's villain deck. The schemes with 2 copies are Kiricult, Paranoid Preparations, and Misinformation. Kiricult triggers when the targeted player moves to a location that has a hero, and allows Light to move an ally or Shinigami in his territory to an adjacent location. Very useful given all of Light's allies and the 2 Shinigami have abilities based on either movement or being away from heroes. Paranoid Preparations is triggered whenever the targeted player reveals a fate card from the top of Light's fate deck, whether in a normal fate action or a multi-fate. It allows Light to discard any number of cards from his hand and then draw that many cards from his deck. Misinformation is triggered when the targeted player discards 2 or more cards from their hand on their turn, and then lets Light move a hero in his territory to any location. Notice it says that the cards being discarded must be on that player's own turn, not during someone else's turn by some other card effect. Light's other 2 schemes that have only 1 copy are Last Resort and Battle of Wits. Last Resort triggers when the targeted player enters Showdown and lets Light defeat a hero whose name token is revealed. Battle of Wits, meanwhile, triggers when the targeted player plays their own scheme and lets Light then play 2 of his schemes from his discard pile, provided he can pay their cost. Light is smart, deceptive, and clever. Using as many different schemes in conjunction with all his other tools is the best way to further progress towards his objective and eventual victory. The last few villain cards in Light's deck focus on defeating heroes, offering him utility for covered action in his territory, and using cards in his discard pile. The cards that focus on defeating heroes are Delete and Death Note. Delete is simple. When played, you can defeat a hero whose name token is revealed. Like Rem and Last Resort, Delete doesn't need you to be at a location without heroes, making it very useful. The Death Note, meanwhile, is an item that you can attach to an ally. Once you do, that ally essentially gains Light's villain ability. If there are no heroes at the ally's location at the end of Light's turn, you get to defeat a hero whose name token is revealed. This, paired with Light's ability, means that depending on the position of heroes in your territory, you can defeat 2 of them at once when your turn ends. Light also has a form called Amnesia, which allows him to perform one non-fate action that is covered by a hero at his location. While you have Amnesia in play, Light can no longer use his normal ability to defeat heroes. Whenever you do defeat a hero through one of Light's other cards, Amnesia will then be discarded and return Light to his usual ability. Light also has a card called God of the New World, which lets him choose a card from his discard pile, pay its cost, and play it. Incredibly straightforward and incredibly useful, as it gives you many options depending on how far in the game you are. We've talked so much about how Light cares about the positioning of heroes, how he can only defeat a hero if their matching name token is revealed, and how there are precisely 8 of them to deal with. So now let's go through the heroes found in Light's Fate deck, as well as the Fate deck effects and Light's challenge. The first 2 heroes we have are L and Watari. L is of course Light's greatest adversary, and one of the most troublesome for him to defeat. Whenever L would be defeated by any means, if he's currently at 4 strength, he instead loses 1 strength. If L's name token is revealed when he's defeated at 4 strength, his name token is then returned to the supply. This essentially means that L has to be defeated twice, and that you'll have to reveal his name token a second time to accomplish it. There is one major way around this, of course, which is using Rem, the only option Light has that does not require a name token to defeat a hero. L will still need to be defeated twice, but if you first defeat him using his name token and then use Rem, you can bypass needing to reveal his name token a second time. Of course, it's also very possible for Light to defeat L, reveal his name token, and defeat him again in a single turn. You'll have to get very creative to overcome L. Watari, as L's most trusted aide, finds L and puts him on top of Light's Fate deck. Since L is so difficult for Light to defeat, having Watari set him up for the next Fate is a strong move. Next we have Mello and Nier, the successors of L. When Mello is played, he discards an ally from his location. Given Light only has 4 allies, this can be an incredible setback for his goals. Nier is also heavily damaging, but I'll actually need to explain an anime villainous term that's relevant to Nier's ability. When Nier is played, the one playing him gets to swap the location of 2 characters in Light's territory. The term character in anime villainous is very specific, and refers to anything that has a strength value. A strength value, if you recall, is the number printed at the bottom left of a card, or a villain's portrait. This means that heroes, allies, and Light himself are considered characters, and therefore can be moved by Nier's ability. Important to note is that Shinigami do not have strength values, which means if a card like Nier mentions characters, the Shinigami do not count. Nier cannot be used to move them. So, when Nier is played, he can switch any combination of heroes, allies, or even Light himself, which would mean that Light's mover would be swapped with another character's location, as the mover represents Light. The other 4 heroes in Light's Fate deck are Aizawa, Matsuda, Ide, and Mogi. They all have different movement abilities to mess with the positioning of Light's territory. Aizawa moves a hero to any location, Matsuda moves Light to any location, Ide moves an ally to any location, and Mogi can move any character, but only to an adjacent location, unlike the other 3 who can move their target to any location. There are also 3 effect cards in Light's Fate deck: Accusation, Complications, and Alias. Accusation allows the player to choose a hero in Light's territory and play them to Light's location. Most heroes have abilities that activate upon being played, so this will allow them to reactivate their abilities if applicable. Complications will either discard an item from Light's territory or a scheme that Light controls. Alias, meanwhile, takes one of the revealed name tokens and returns it face down to the supply. This isn't done randomly, so the player playing the Fate card can choose which name they think would be most useful to Light to take away from him. Lastly, we have Light's challenge, Imprisoned. While imprisoned, Light is unable to reveal name tokens, meaning he can't make any progress towards his objective. To discard Imprisoned, Light will have to discard 2 schemes that he controls, which he can do at any time, even during another player's turn. It took a while, but with that, we've covered all you need to know to play as Light Yagami from Death Note. He's a rather complex villain that relies on a lot of territory maneuvering, among other things, but he's sure to be a fun one to master and play as. If you have any questions relating to Light, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to answer you. Also, check out the description for the playlist to see all other anime Villainous how-to videos, if there's another character you want to learn about. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you again for more anime Villainous videos in the future. Until then, farewell.